dance, play and laugh. Feel the sound as we gather around. Let's embrace the joy so sweet. Laughter connects a life so sweet.
Things back to health. And that's resilience. How well can you actually bounce? Some of the factors that influence psychological resilience is, next please, genetics and life experiences. Now, how many of you have actually thought that the way you act now is because of how you were made? Now, when you actually look at that picture, it shows you a chromosome. At the tip of the chromosome is something called telomeres. Now, telomeres are the caps of chromosomes. And what happens is, they tend to change over a period of time. They can shorten, or the length can be kept maintained. And it depends how lifestyle is. They found that in kids who go through a lot of abuse in their younger years, the telomeres start to shorten. And when telomeres shorten, you are more prone for depression, anxiety, and stress. So it's got lots to do with genetics. Can we change that? That's the biggest question. Can we actually change that by putting in social prescription, laughter yoga? The second one is social support, very important. A strong social support, a strong network basically does mean that you are actually coping better. And obviously the third one is coping. Coping lifestyle is so important here, how one copes. Sadly, we are in a generation where kids, teenagers, have not learned the skills of coping. And when you don't know what to do when you are in adversity, or when you are facing adversity, then it starts becoming a problem because you tend to do or make wrong decisions. This was published by a good friend of mine, Jane Mowley in Canada in 2019. A very interesting, next slide please. Sorry, I keep changing my slides here, forgetting that they've got to change it there. Now, let me just run you through this so that you understand what resilience is. So it starts with personality and adversity and what exposure that you get, stress. Now, when you are stressed or when you are under stress, it goes and changes the circuits that you have in your body. And there are a few components which actually makes up or decides adversity and resilience. One is biological symptoms in the body. In short, how your chemicals work. So if you've got lots of positive chemicals, you're going to be more resilient. If you build more negative chemicals, chances are you're going to be less resilient. Second, your peer relationship, in terms of social influence. How is your support? Family, friends, peers. In short, if you've got good support, you're most probably going to be more resilient than not. The one in purple, cognitive processes, the way you think. So important because it comes to problem solving or coping skills. Do you have good coping skills? Do you have good methods to cope when you face problems? If you do have, you're going to be more resilient. And the final one is emotional symptoms, which basically talks about how you manage your emotions. If you can manage it well, all that put together, the social influence, the biological symptoms, the thinking and the emotional symptoms, makes you stronger the next time you face adversity. So that's a component. Now let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen. Social influence, biological symptoms, thinking or cognitive processes, and emotional symptoms. When you practice laughter yoga, don't you think that laughter yoga covers all aspects? It brings in that group cohesion. You're doing it in a group, you've got support. It helps you with a coping mechanism. You know when you're stressed, you know what you can do almost automatically. It also helps you regulate emotions, And finally, by laughing, practicing laughter yoga, all speakers have actually spoken about evidences that show biochemicals or positive chemicals in the body actually does increase. So laughter yoga is a solution to this. So why is it important? One is it helps with stress management. Next slide, please. Yes? This is calling resilience. I got to be very resilient with this here. What was that? Can I? Yeah, sure. 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I can use it here, it'll be good. It's all about bouncing back. So you can do it while you're on your chair. I want you to bounce. No, not as yet. Don't bounce out. Okay. Bounce on your chair. 3 bounces and a yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And a laugh. Let's do it. I'm going to show you. 1, 2, 3. So let's bounce, okay, to be resilient. Now that's how it actually helps. It lowers depression, it lowers your risk of stress, and improves well-being. Now let's talk a little bit about science. The science behind laughter and resilience. Very interesting to actually understand. Now you find that laughter yoga not only changes a man, a woman, human, in terms of body structure, the way the body moves, but it also changes the way the mind moves. And the smaller levels of chemicals that happen. We all know it reduces stress hormones. Reduces something called cortisol, reduces your adrenaline, so you're a bit more calm, you're a bit more resilient. As you breathe, as you laugh, you're bringing in oxygen, and that actually helps with your heart, your lungs. So as you do a practice, it's basically not just chemicals, neurochemicals, but it also increases oxygen intake. Most important, neurochemical changes. It actually helps with the mood improvement, the laughter, the neurotransmitters, bringing in positive neurotransmitters. We spoke about endorphins, we spoke about serotonin, we spoke about oxytocin, and getting away the negative ones. And it makes you more resilient in that sense. Now, studies around the world have shown that by doing all those, it sort of enhances one's coping skills. It helps you reduce anxiety, and I think most important, it helps stabilize emotion and emotion stability. So, when you're actually troubled, when you're stressed, you're not stable. And when you actually do laughter yoga, it stabilizes them because of all these things. More importantly, we're going to talk about how mechanisms of how laughter yoga builds resilience. One is, it can be practiced as mindfulness in play. It can be adaptive. Now, many of us don't realize that the fact that you're doing it every day, every morning, it becomes habit. And habit is good because for it to be effective, you need to do it consistently. So it becomes a coping mechanism. And that helps because whenever you're stressed, you turn to your coping mechanism. Whenever you're troubled, you turn to your coping mechanism. So it becomes almost automatic, almost second nature, first nature for you to turn to that. In terms of social connection and support, it also strengthens social bonds. You're out there doing it in a group. Even online, you're doing it in a group, so it actually builds that. Now it reduces isolation. We found this during COVID. a lot of people were stuck where they were, and they just couldn't go out to do things in a group. They couldn't go out to the coffee shops, they couldn't find friends. But online sessions allowed them to pull away from isolation. Did you know that isolation by itself is good enough to cause a cardiac problem or a heart problem? Isolation can cause dementia in people 40 times more than a person who actually goes out there and socializes. So isolation is something really, really important to avoid. Building this supportive community, I think that's so important. But what you do when you actually practice Laughter Yoga is regulate emotions. So, how many of you have not felt angry? Please put up your hand. How many of you have not felt jealousy or hurt? So I think that's human behavior, all of us have it. It's not about feeling angry, it's not about feeling jealous, it's about regulating it. Now the picture there is a cartoon character called Two-Face. How many of you are aware of Two-Face? Have you seen Two-Face? Yep. This one comes from what? Batman comics. I use Batman comics to cope with stress. Now, the guy, Two-Face, has got two sides of him. He's got the angry side, and he's got the normal or the good side. So whenever he turns to the angry side, he basically does things which are not so good. And whenever he turns to the good side, he basically does good decisions. So let's cover one side and give yourself a very angry look. And then remove that and cover the angry side with a smiling face followed by a laugh. Remember, all of us have got two faces. All of us have got two personalities. It's a matter of bringing out the correct one at the correct time. Let's talk about practical applications and real-world benefits. Now, what has been done is Laughter Yoga complements treatments for other ailments. Depression, anxiety, stress, chronic illnesses. But what we have found over a period of time is people who do Laughter Yoga, who practice Laughter Yoga consistently on a regular basis, tend to be able to taper down and off medications that they are on. And isn't that what we want? We were not brought into the world with medications in our hands. You don't want to leave with medications, isn't it, as much as you can? Now, that would be something good. The second one is stress reduction. The joke is, even when you die, you have stress, you know. The man thinks, oh, am I going to hell or am I going to heaven? So, stress is always there. It's part of human behavior. Now, the job is not to be stress-free, but to be able to control stress. And isn't Laughter Yoga a good way to cope with those things? And when you do all this, it sort of enhances quality of life. An interesting research published last year, which actually looked at a group of mothers. It was actually done in Turkey. It looked into 60 mothers who have just delivered, and sadly the babies were not home, but the babies were in ICU or NICU, neonatal ICU, because of complications. That's the worst situation that a mother needs to be in, you know, having a child in the NICU and not back home. So you find that lots of these mothers basically had depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms, and they needed help because they were not in the NICU, they were at home. So they actually looked into 3 arms. They divided into 3 arms. One group of people, 20 of them, actually practiced yoga. Another 19 practiced laughter yoga, and the remaining 21 were not addressed at all. They were just a control group. And mind you, all this were actually done online through WhatsApp video call, not even Zoom. And they had 10 laughter yoga sessions of 45 minutes each, twice a week. So after 5 sessions, they reviewed them, and they reviewed them again after 10 sessions, looking into how were they in terms of depression, anxiety, stress. And they also looked into their resilience, how resilient they were. When they started out, before all this, they were all level, safe. They were all as stressed as each other, as depressed as each other, as anxious as each other. But you find that, in this graph, laughter yoga group and the yoga group basically at the end of 10 sessions did much better. They were significantly less depressed. They could manage their emotions, significantly less anxious, and also managed emotions better, and they were significant, not really significant, but mildly better in terms of resilience. But mind you, ladies and gentlemen, this is only 10 sessions. Only 10 sessions. A very short period of time, showing you such wonderful results. Imagine if it goes on for a year. Imagine. So, similar studies have been done. This group of mothers have been done in the elderly, people at home, people suffering from loneliness, and it goes to show that it does improve mood, it does help you reduce stress, and more than important, it teaches the body what to do when you are in a certain adversity. So it builds resilience. Now that's what resilience is. Makes you stronger, helps you bounce back when you are actually in problems or when you face adversity. So, integrating laughter yoga into daily routines is something that you can actually do. One thing that I like and maybe toying with is workplace laughter yoga. Wherever you work, if you're working in a stressful condition, I work in a very stressful situation. Hospitals are most probably the most stressful place, It's supposed to be friendly, but you go there, you hardly see smiles. You hardly see people talking to you or laughing at you. Now, put that into your workplace. If once you try to incorporate it, then it actually helps yourself and helps others. Future direction. Where are we going from here? Some summaries and some conclusions. Opportunities. I think we know effects, we know what research has shown. Over the past 2 days, researchers, and also presenters have shown, research has shown effects. But many of it are short-term effects. It's good to do a very long-term effect and see what long-term effects do. We are in a world of technology, ladies and gentlemen. The last study showed you the effects just by a WhatsApp video call. So, integrating technology into laughter yoga is something very interesting, and looking at the effect. Zoom is done all over the world. It's more interesting to bring it into, is there a possibility of bringing in apps that people can actually use wherever they are, whenever they want to, and how can we adapt this for diversity? So, some of the benefits that I put there that actually impact resilience. One is, it definitely lowers anxiety, tension. It improves your coping skills. So the body learns what I can do when I'm stressed. It provides supportive networks, and obviously it maintains well-being when you are stressed. And that's actually the most important thing, because stress doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't give you a letter when it's coming or visiting you. It comes. And when it comes, it drops. And you should be ready. We all should be ready. So, if you have something to use when you to cope. Now that's going to be best. When you go into war, you don't go into war with just one pistol. You go with weapons. And that's what stress is. Get into stress. Be ready to face stress. Make yourself resilient. So now that we all are much more resilient, can I invite you all to stand for a while? Now what's going to happen is, stress and adversity is going to be all around. So, dust it off, walk around, and if you do hit into something, just bounce back and if you do stumble, tell yourself you are resilient. Yeah. Thank you. Wake up in the morning. Wake up in the morning, stand in front of the mirror and tell something positive about yourself. Tell yourself, I am more resilient today. Thank you.
Sing and dance, play and laugh. Feel the sound as we gather around. Let's embrace the joy so sweet. Laughter connects a life so sweet. Ho, ho, ha, ha, ha.